Okay, let's get this show on the road. Get the stream intro going. All right, we lost the little background music. Josh, do you want to say good morning?
Good morning. How are you?
Hi, how's everybody? How are you, Josh,
Good.
in New York? How's your week been?
Same as every day. I like told my wife yesterday, "Oh, it's the weekend tomorrow." She's like, "Really?" It makes absolutely no difference. It's a little surreal.
One time I called you. You were this week. You were actually just driving the kids around, weren't you? Or did you go to like New Jersey or something, just out of the city for a
Yeah,
little bit?
we're looking to kind of maybe get a retreat out there somewhere like we can run away from the city because we moved from Livingston suburbs last year, which was a suburb of New York City, like in New
Right.
Jersey, and now we're like, maybe we should have stayed with that backyard and other stuff.
I
So
know.
we're like a few of the family are looking to get something down, south and maybe retreat if this is going to take a while, which it looks like it will.
Uh,
So
well, I will for me. I have a little. I think it's like 4 foot by 20 foot patio backyard. So that's where I ended up retreating to, and it was kind of funny when we got
nice.
this apartment home here in Orange County. We lease it, right, and the first thing we realized, like, yeah, it's a pretty good layout. It's fine, but the 2 car garage, just for me, was the most exciting part, right? So kind of have to have room for my snowboards and my
Right.
my now
Nice.
hydroponics
Oh, really?
tools. Because yeah, I think I sent you. Did I not send you a picture of my little hydroponic setup in the
No,
backyard? So
no.
I've got a little thing that I built the couple 3 or 4 weekends ago that is essentially recirculating water in a bunch of PVC pipes, and it's
Wow.
sitting out in the back patio. And I've got plants in there, starter plants in there now, and I'm also, um, starting some seeds of just spinach, right? Something super easy.
Nice.
And so
Very
that's in the
cool.
garage. The seedlings are in the garage, and then once they're big enough, they'll go outside, and hopefully we'll have
Right.
spinach at some point. You know,
You start selling it to your neighborhood.
I don't think it's
You
enough.
know,
I don't think it's
if
enough.
this
It's
thing keeps going on,
well, I think with the thing with the spinach though is just that you just need a lot of it because people will eat a lot of it really quickly. So it'll just maybe be by midsummer, late summer, maybe enough for a salad.
Right, right.
But at least I knew how I grew it, like what what the kind of water it is, what the conditions were like, what the fertilizer I used, that sort of thing. And that's
Yeah.
kind of been our way of handling being cooped up at home is just kind of building stuff and just trying something new, something non-tech. Because I'm here at this desk all week, and
Yeah.
it's nice not to have a tech project, the entire weekend. So just getting out of the house has been, or not getting out of the house, just getting out of my office would be is the goal, right?
I know what you mean.
Uh, anyway, Josh, so we last left off our Learn SQL series part two, kind of going over some more advanced SQL. And I
Right.
want to ask from you, how's your Excel class going? And
It's going. Yeah, it's going well. I mean, I basically get into it like for like a day or two really intensely, and then it drops away as I have other stuff that come up. But then I
sure.
get back into it, and I like kind of enjoy it and going. But now we're doing like index match. We're doing like formulas where there like each argument is a different formula, and so it's getting intense, but it's good. I'm liking it.
So for people that aren't aware, let me actually switch this to guest because we had a little bit of a gaffe last time where um, there was more on the browser than I wanted to. Index match in Excel, and this is just something I'm pulling up on screen. Actually, oops, sorry, I didn't bring up the
Sure.
computer for the live stream. So index match is essentially what we're doing with SQL joins, right?
Right. Right.
So the whole idea with it, and I'm just going to pull up some random page, so I'm not even affiliated with these companies, is that you give it some sort of get my little annotation thing. You give it an input, and you want some kind of result, and that input finds, a row, and then you say, well, then give me the the value that I want, which in this case I believe it's the fact that row 5 out of this list is that row.
Right.
And the whole idea behind it is that now that you know the reference, you actually then say, give me the fifth position of this section of this data, and then now you've got it. So
Right.
VLOOKUP is very similar. I'm sure this page has got a
Right.
VLOOKUP page, and but the challenge with that with VLOOKUP is that it's always starting from the right hand side, or sorry,
The left hand.
the
Right.
left hand side all the way, and then you go from the to the left to the yeah, sorry, the left hand side to the right hand side um,
Right.
of the indexing, and that can work fine. Except what if you have, I don't know, your unique name, last name, and you got to go left, right? So
Right.
not only that, but you can also there's another function in here, and called HLOOKUP.
Right.
I think there's a
Horizontal.
HLOOKUP.
Well, another benefit is that if somebody puts inserts a column into a VLOOKUP, it'll break it because it's just looking for the
Exactly.
fourth one, even if there's so with index match, it's going to look for the same one every time.
So with Excel to kind of like munge data together, let me kind of adjust my microphone here a little bit. Um, you can you've got a whole lot of tools at your disposal. Not only index match, which is probably the more appropriate function. You got VLOOKUP, which a lot of people already know, right? You've got HLOOKUP, which is not as common, but sure, we've got the option, and you've got XLOOKUP, and
X, the new
XLOOKUP
one.
is the new one. Yeah, so let's go gander at that. And there's a lot of people talking about it now, but the idea is that we can go in both directions, right? And
Uh,
it's supposed to replace um,
index
VLOOKUP
match.
and HLOOKUP, so that you can go, give me Mars, right? And I think there's other examples here. Yeah, this doesn't really matter. Just Excel. Anybody can go look these up and get these examples. But the challenging thing about these sort of things is that you're working in. Notice how when you're talking about this data, and I'll make a mention of it now. When you're talking about this data, you're actually just talking about you know field references, right? You're not talking about the actual idea of what a planet or the number
Sure.
of satellites in the diameter. You're not talking about that in those terms. You're talking about it in terms of um, in um, non non-concept terms, right? So
Right.
this is actually not much different than maybe what people used to do with databases back in the day when they had data on a floppy drive, right? They would say go
Hmm.
to position 5,000 and length 10 in order to
Hmm.
get the text of a someone's name, right? So
Right.
and even though and this is typically what people are stuck with. So I think what I want to show you is some of the more I wouldn't say more advanced, but maybe we can use different areas of Fishbowl to try to do some, I don't know, average shipping days and that sort of thing with Fishbowl to kind of give the audience a better and you a better idea of how some of these solutions and formulas would work um, inside of Fishbowl, and then maybe we'll try to explain how that kind of works in Excel, or how that would
Sure.
work in Excel, right?
Right.
And Josh, is there anything that in specific for you that you want to kind of make sure we take a look at while we're on this live stream?
No, not at all. It's a more of like an eye opener for me of like the how like an overview of how it all works. I can't say that I'm like picking up everything and remembering, and I'm not obviously not practicing it as much as I should if I wanted to keep a real extensive understanding. But it's interesting to see the overview of how it works and have people watching this be able to like kind of review it as well on their own time. So it makes it good.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I'll mention about just being having a participant in the learning process and having kind of encouraging more and more people to learn about this. In our last podcast, Josh, you and I talked
Hmm.
about the differences between Fishbowl and NetSuite, and we got some pretty
Right.
positive kudos already from past staff members, past clients who are still listening to what we have to say, and potential ones who are hey, we don't work with you, but we're interested, we like what you're doing, and maybe when all this COVID stuff goes away, we'll hit you up for
if
a project. When? When, Josh?
if
When?
when
When? If?
if error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have to stay a little more I almost said
Optimistic.
pessimistic.
Optimistic. Yeah.
Optimistic. Even though yesterday I was kind of bummed out, with the fact that the CARES Act funding for the PPP loan ran out, and a
Yeah.
lot of people that I know who applied for it didn't get anything out of it. Even for us, we applied, as a lot of businesses would, and didn't they got nothing from their bank. Thank you, Bank of America. We heard nothing. Um, but so it's nice to talk about this, and it's nice to just have somebody to talk to when we're trying to explain some things. So if anybody's in the
Good.
audience that has a question or has some queries that they want maybe a solution to, just shout them out, and we'll be happy to try to incorporate them into the stream.
Right.
Okay, cool. Um, what I've got is the other the other day we spent here at the company. We do special days called deep work sessions, right? And in these deep work sessions, we'll focus on an aspect of our business um, that we need, just, I wouldn't say all hands on deck, because not everybody needs to be part of it, but more than two, more than two or three people, where we all focus on one thing. And yesterday we were focusing on our dashboard widgets, right? The
Right.
things that we want to build for customers, where we're using the BI reports solutions. Here we got a sales volume, you know, this week, current week. Now this doesn't isn't impressive on its own, but it becomes a little more impressive when we're talking about it from the perspective of, well, what if you added this to your dashboard, right? And I've got all these extra ones here. I don't really need them. And our vision is that we'll be helping customers build out um, these dashboard widgets, right? And having a bunch
Hmm.
of different examples of them, and we'll have another pie chart, and and now I'm just playing tic tac toe. I'm kidding. Um, we're building these out, right? And we're taking just a broad look of what customers might need for metrics, right? And there's tons of inspiration out there. I think we found a list of KPIs um, that companies in HR, sales, operations, things like that. And I think it's like some thousand, basically one sentence long KPIs of, like, average days to to ship, right? And we can take that
Hmm.
and interpret that into, well, how would we do that in Fishbowl if a customer needed something like that? How would we kind of do something like that in Fishbowl? And so yesterday we spent a bit of time interpreting those queries, kind of like adapting them for Fishbowl, because some things are not. There was a KPI that we saw that said, percentage of new market sales. I'm like, well, you know what? Since these queries are going to be, or solutions are going to be generic, new market could be, very subjective. It could be interpreted by, a lot of different things with our companies. So we'll skip that one, but we'll do the basic ones, like the average days to ship, or the average order size by day, and then maybe put that on a screen somewhere, and see if anybody likes it. So
Right.
that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through some of those queries, and then kind of bring you through the process of what it took to create one of those. And I think call that good, because we've got a busy day. I've got some other appointments to prepare for, and emails to get back to, and
Cool.
quotes to make. So we're not going to spend too long today, but we're going to kind of bring you through that process of what that looks like, and just talk about it in detail.
Perfect.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go pick out some of the basic queries. I'm going to go find the one that I want to show you guys. And I'm off screen here. I'm looking at something else. There is that's pretty good. I think I'm going to use that one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the average days to complete an order, right? And a lot of companies that could be very specific, but we're going to use the very generic one of when we go into Fishbowl and we're looking at a sales order, right? We're going to look at the date that the order was issued and
Right.
the date that the order was completed. That's it, right? And we're going to consider only the date on the date that it was completed. How long was that order waiting to complete, right? So if I, for example, completed this order today, that order would have been waiting, some 1,000 days, right? So what I'm going to try to do is, uh, just kind of go through the data, and this is the sort of thing that I wish. We'll probably ship all these a bunch of order. Yeah, here we go. These last 4 orders will probably, ship today in this example Fishbowl, because that way we're able to, able to offer it as some slightly real data because we don't have any of this kind of we're not working with a live customer database, right? If we were, then we don't have to do anything. It's just going to be pretty accurate. So we're going to start. We're going to take a look at the sales order module and get the sales order number and sales order date issued, date completed, and we're just going to run that, right? So this is our basic raw data, right?
Right. That's the same one we were just looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you can see a lot of these orders are still not complete. So you can notice how what's funny is that I probably created this Fishbowl database back in January, right? But the date completed were from 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So that will happen. And this is the example database in Fishbowl. So
Right. Right. Right.
there's some orders that were created back in these last 4 or so. Yeah, they were created in the last month. And the idea is that let's give them a shot. Let's see if we can use them to see if they were all shipped today. How long were those orders waiting for?
Why is the issue date after the date completed?
Oh,
It was post
because
dated.
no, not post dated. I mean, this is Fishbowl we're talking about. They can be as nonsensical as they want when they make demo
Right.
databases. So I'm sure they have a. I think in the last two releases of Fishbowl, they had a solution where they changed the dates on transactions so that they were all more recent,
Right. Right.
right? So the system looks fresh, so that it doesn't
Not
look
like
like.
2010.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were dealing with, with Fishbowl a year ago, where everything was like 2010, 2011,
Right.
2013, 2015. It's like no,
Right.
everything's dated the same day that the demo database was created, but I think they don't really consider all the
Yeah.
other scenarios,
Okay.
right?
All right.
And for people that are developing software, are developing queries, like it's so much easier to write queries a on a real database than it is on like an example database because we're kind of missing the real story here. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be perfect, but people that are watching could take the query that we write and apply it to their database, and they should see some insights there, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to apply a date filter because we want orders that were completed today, right? Because that's the one that's going to be mostly accurate because I can't give you guys negative completion days because that's what it would display. So I'm going to filter. I'm going to say date, SO date completed between 2020 04 17 and 2020 04 17 and nothing, right? I kind of expected nothing. Um, so what I'm going to do is to have something.
Right.
I'm going to go pick this. I'm going to go finish this. And I'm going to ship this today. right? And that should then have completed the order, right? So now we have status fulfilled, and we've got a date completed of 4/17/2020, right? Which is good. That's exactly what we want. And if we pop back over to the data module and run this again, then we've got one row, right? So we're now kind of proving that the
It's
assumptions
working.
that we have in our mind of what this query is supposed to be doing and how that relates to how people drive the system, like shipping things, that matches, right? I'm going to partially ship an order. We're going to see what that looks like. I'm going to make this one for 2. Oh, this one's also picked. All right, let's
Yeah.
just ship that one too. It's already ready to go. Okay. How about this one? It's issued. Cool. So I'm going to send 10, right? Save, pick. No inventory. What? Okay, well, hey, we are we're in demo land, so we can do whatever we want. If we're in Salt Lake City and we want to pick from the LA inventory, sure, let's do that. Actually, you know what? I'll take that back. I want to pick half of the
Right.
order from LA. And can you imagine? Let me put it this way: people do this all the time, and
Right.
in Fishbowl, and they don't realize that they did it. I'm like, and I kind of want to be cheeky sometimes, but I don't, right? Because it would be kind of rude. But I'm like, so does this company like figure out how to like transport material across state lines? Like, do you guys have like a tractor beam or something like that? Do you guys have like a portal? Like, how did anybody think that this was a good idea? Like, it's picking from Los Angeles, but this order's shipping out of Salt Lake City.
So
You,
what is their answer? They just didn't
well, I
realize?
never ask it like that, but I'm like, hey,
No,
that's
but
weird.
I'm saying, do they not know that they're not supposed
I
to be
think a
doing
big
that,
part of
or
I think a big part of it is like they want to ship the order and not be interested. They're not that interested in accuracy. You know,
okay?
it's just the typical. I need to get this order out. I can't handle the red boxes. Red
So
boxes
then
are telling.
why not just ship it and not do it through the system and then put a note to do it later or something?
Well, ostensibly, what ends up happening is some companies have, they're doing it the wrong way, so they can save themselves doing it the wrong way again. Which is, for
Right.
example, uh, the um,
Then your inventory stock is
the
off.
inventory stock. Oh man, this is what I get for using the demo database. Like my home address got showed, got displayed on screen for a
Uh
while. Uh, my wife's gonna hate me for that one. Can't y- I can't use proper Google. I gotta use guest. I can't use the proper Fishbowl database because more than likely I've used my an address there before.
oh.
Anyway, I'll probably take this. I probably take this live stream down and reload it with that blurred out because my wife will not be too happy about that. Anyway, so let's okay, so let's ship. Okay, you know what? To help the situation, I'm just gonna go to the talking head mode. I'm gonna ship the order, and we're gonna go back to the sales order module and go from there. Oh, that's what happened. The last order. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to have a dedicated computer for demos, so that
Yeah,
this stuff doesn't happen. Or just not put my home address in anywhere ever.
that's an option.
Yeah, I should just put a fake address. Like one of my old business addresses, probably fine. Send some get some stock at some point. I don't want that. I really don't want that. By the way, I'm happy at
Right.
home. Okay, I think we're good. So we're gonna go back to the computer and notice how this order's partial, right? It's partial and it's not yet fulfilled yet or completely fulfilled. If we've got a date fulfilled, right, but we have no date completed,
Right.
right? That's empty. So if we go back to the data module and run it again, you'll see that that order that we're talking about, 10089, is not part of this list,
Oh, interesting.
right?
Just the other one.
Just the other one. Yep.
But you can
So,
add a column for partial.
well, That's the question. Do you?
It just depends on what you want to know.
Exactly. That's and since we're just doing this demo, like it's just we get to define the rules. But you're right. If you wanted to, and a big part of it is when we're doing these kind of metrics, right? You want to consider, and this is more of the business consulting hat that I'll put on for now, is you kind of want to consider is when you've got some of this data and query um, together, you also don't want that to change later down the road, right?
Right.
So if you did a partial shipment today and then another partial shipment 2 days, 2 weeks later, for example, you're essentially taking it away from the original period that it happened in, and putting that whole order and making it look longer um, in the newest period, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that'll kind of give you guys like a permanently rosy look to the past because only the orders that ship complete would have appeared in the history. And partial orders would always be brought to current because if you're looking at the, for example, this date fulfilled, what that actually should say last date fulfilled because it's not complete, right? This is just a partial date. I could ship this 2 weeks later, and it'd actually bring all that forward. So like it would
Right.
make your days to ship today look a lot worse than it did before. So that could, if you don't know that that kind of bias is in the data, you'll make decisions essentially maybe that's causing more of a problem, right? And that's the sort of thing that when we're kind of designing these sort of things, or if I'm thinking about these sort of things, I'm going to try to apply the least the query or the result that is least what's the best way of describing this? Least volatile, right? Because it's probably better that way, right? Because if we want to look back to what our date completers were as of a month ago, that shouldn't change if we look at that same month again 2 months later, right? And that kind of bias will happen all the time, and I think a lot of people aren't aware that that bias is there. Anyway, so let's get some more orders in here. Let me get this support
Okay.
cyclery, which is another uh, not not my uh, not my home address order. I'm so fired. Um, and let's see, did we ship it? We gotta ship it. Yes. Oh, thanks. My default is no. I don't want any more pop-ups. And we'll finish this one as well. Pick, finish, to ship, ship. No. Okay, so now we're good. We're up to date with our 4 orders. So we hit play. So now we've got 3 orders. Right, let's go take care of that last open order. So we have 4 to work with. Mr. Bleak's Alpine Bikes. And we will pick and actually did I not ship that one? Yeah. Do you want to continue? Yes. No thanks. Okay. Okay, cool. So now we've got these 4 orders that were shipped today, right? With a November 26th delivery date, with a March 24th delivery date and our issue date, and a April 9th, April 16th, right? So what we're going to do is calculate the number of days between date issued and date completed, right? And then we're
Mhm.
going to say what was the average for April 17th, right? So from this small query, we're going to expand it a bit more and add some more logic to it. So the way we do that is with a special function called timestamp diff. I'm going to type that in, timestamp diff. And the first input is, or parameter, is day, and then the 2 dates we're going to compare it to. So you want the oldest one first and the latest one last. So this would be SO date issued and SO date completed as SO completed days. Okay, so here we go. We got 142 because that's what November 26th order shipped on April 17th, so they waited a long time.
Right.
A March 24th order, April 17th, 23 days. April 9th order, April 2017th, 7 days. An April 16th order, and effectively 0 days, or 0 full days, right? So this is so that might catch people out. So what I think what I might do is that I think because we're looking at the timestamps, we actually need to wrap these in date functions because they're not giving us decimal days, right? There we go. That makes more sense. So April
Mm-hmm.
16th midnight to April 17th midnight is actually a
One day.
full day, right? So if we don't do
Right.
that, the date wrapping or function to just get the date, then timestamp diff will also take into consideration if it's a partial day, then it's 0. So if it's 0.75 of a
Oh.
day, it considers it, yeah, it considers it 0 because it's only giving
Okay.
us whole days in this case.
Right.
Anyway, so we've got that nailed down. So how then we kind of make this into something, a bit easier. So what will happen is we're going to go ahead and wrap this in another query. And usually for the company here, ILC, we either give it an alias, like a full, like proper alias, like what the data represents, like a noun, or just a short, 2-word sentence. But we go from the alphabet, backwards to indicate how deep we are in the query. So if we go from Z, Y, X, then we know how far. That's 3 levels deep. If we get to A, then it's like okay, we're 26 levels deep. It's probably too much. We're doing way too much SQL there. But what we're going to do now is we're going to say, let's say date Z date completed, because I want the date completed. And then we're going to say average and put that in there. Z SO completed days. Oops, days. Average days to complete, right? And with the way that SQL or MySQL works, we will have to group by 1. So now we've got a figure that ostensibly will, make some sense. We've got 44 days to complete, right? We've got that on April 17th, right? And we can see what that looks like. Makes sense? Following along?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's pretty simple. It's a very, 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 very helpful thing. Let me what I'm gonna do.
But why would you want the so but why are you adding the decimal to the 44 days? Like you had it there without that.
Oh,
Is it because you
because
want to see partials?
no, because the average function does that for you.
Oh, it does that anyway.
It
Can
does it
you remove
anyway.
that?
Well, this is just raw data, so
Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay.
it doesn't really matter. I'm
Okay.
sure if we display this to a different kind of solution,
Okay.
we'd have it. So give me a
We can
second.
have that formatted.
I'm gonna what I'm gonna do. Let me see here. Because I believe in the idea of explaining to people what we've got. Because it's not, it's fine, to have this demo example, but it's much better to know what we're looking at in terms of, a real result. And we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that going. So what I'm gonna do
Hmm.
is I'm gonna take a screenshot. And I'm going to come back to the screen with just the screenshot so that we can at least talk about it. Okay. Hide my customer. Protect them from getting here we go. All right. So this is the same query slightly different because I was working on this
Hmm.
the other day,
Right.
and you can see that that they're looking at a changing average last days to ship. Right. This is the same thing that I just call it. I just gave it a different name in this case.
Right.
But you can see that in the data they actually have ebbs and flows in the data. So on you know April 1st they had 3 days to ship. So they
Right.
3 days earlier it took them whatever got shipped that day was waiting 3 days. Then it increases to 9.93 days. Right,
Right.
increased. Then maybe a bunch of backlogs got got taken care of. Right, or maybe that might have been
Hmm.
just a weekend. Let me go take a look. So
But
the
19 days is more than a weekend.
no, not no, the third. The 3rd of April was a Friday. Yeah, and
Okay.
then they did no shipping for the fifth and for the fourth and fifth, and on the sixth they got 13 days orders out. On the seventh they got more of their backlog out.
Hmm.
Right, and then on the eighth they got went back down. They got a bit better. They probably either and see that's the thing. That's a this just tells you what the activity of what had happened, right? Of how long that order has been waiting, and if we're
Right.
increasing it or not. You could you could really game this metric, right? If you think about it, by only shipping orders you got that same day,
Right. Then it just kind of gives you a really false sense
and
of.
then it gives you a false sense of things. So if I'm giving this to somebody and we're having this conversation with a customer, I'd say what we really need is to actually track the total number of days any order has been waiting around, or the
Right.
current uh, waiting time, right? And that's a bit harder to calculate, and that one could be a longer live stream of how to solve for on any given day. Tell me how long orders have been waiting, right?
Hmm.
So, uh, so that's saying like on uh, March 27th, right? The day that any orders that were still open, how long what's the average waiting time of that day, right? Because that should then increase, right, and then
Hmm.
decrease as they get those orders out, and then increase back in as they get more orders in. So that is a better probably a better metric to figure out. But the challenge is how do we get that data in a more performant way? Because I have an idea on how to do that, but generating that data is not going to be easy, right? And we can try that
Hmm.
now, but we don't have a lot of time. I don't have another hour or so to work on this. But I think if I were to kind of model this in Excel, maybe we tee this up for the next live stream. What we end up doing is something like this. So the way that I'm thinking about it is I'm going to start with today. You know, today is 4/17, right? And I'm going to go backwards, right? So I think I can do this with Excel. Can I go backwards?
You
Yeah,
should.
I can
Yeah.
go backwards. Cool. Hey, you're the one that's taking the
I
Excel
don't know.
class.
Leslie. Yeah, I know.
You're the one that's taking the Excel class.
You
So
even
what?
have the option after you track it that you can change what that does. You can
Exactly. I
just go
know.
back.
I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that. I know that much at least. So
Right, right.
that's the. This isn't an Excel class, but you can do.
Right, that little
There
thing
we
there, yeah.
go. Yeah.
Nice. Good job there.
No, I'm not that bad at Excel. Anyway, so we went back. I don't know what 2 weeks. A little more than 2 weeks. So the idea is, what is the number of if today's 4/17? What is how long has orders been waiting today to complete? And that actually could be pretty easy to calculate, right? Using the exact same query that we've got right now. It's just that we didn't need to rerun it for every day previous until uh, for it to be accurate, right? So let's if we can run it for today, let me show you how that would look like for today.
Okay.
So instead of comparing a date issued to date completed, we're going to say current date. There's a special keyword in MySQL to tell us that. And instead of sales orders completed on a certain date, we want sales orders that are still open, 20 and 25, right? And instead of day completed to group things by here in this day completed section, we're going to say, uh, actually, we don't even need it because we're calculating today, right? So
Right.
this should do it. So right now, 168.91. Right. So then so what would happen is the calculation for today is 168.91. Right. Now, if I did something like did yesterday, 2020 04 16, right, and ran it again. Oops, friend. Now I'm 697, 697.91, right?
Oh.
But there's a bit of an inaccurate thing, right? I'm gonna go and issue a bunch of orders today. Wait, oh yeah, that's right. It's not
So
issuing
have to
it.
put something on it
I
now.
gotta put something on it. Yeah, come on. Oh, I should use my batch order plugin.
Oh,
uh,
nice.
so this is a beta, very beta. We were working on this yesterday as part of our deep work session for the company.
Cool.
But this is going to come up on our store. The idea is to add in a bunch of customers, and this is a bit buggy, so I really hope that it works. Otherwise, it'll get ready soonish. Okay, so we've got a few customers. So I'm going to say H100 as a product because I know that exists, and yeah, that's my button. And I think all this. So we're going to have a bunch of settings here at some point where we can specify the location group, the class, default
Cool.
by drop down or the
Nice.
customer's default carrier. None of this really works. This should work enough to actually run. So we can kind of like mimic what Fishbowl has on the general tab, the
Mm-hmm.
detail tab, and then the custom tab, which is got a little more work to do. But ostensibly, with these 5 orders, all orders imported. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah,
Wow.
we're not that bad at software. Anyway, so now let's take a look at how we calculate this. I just created a bunch of these orders today, but what does that do to our metrics? Oh,
Now brought it down.
brought it down. But none of these orders were issued yesterday or the 15th, if you think about it,
Right.
right? So what that means is that we need to figure out what orders were issued before the input date, in this case the 16th,
Mm-hmm.
and we're we're still open after that because situations like deleting an order, right,
Mm-hmm.
or voiding an order, right. All of those add into the challenge of trying to get an accurate metric of if an order is that we consider that we're responsible for, as a company, we're being held accountable to, is open and is ready to go, then at the end of the day, then we calculate the number of average days that the order is open, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, because we don't have an easy way to kind of calculate those kind of daily metrics, that actually might be a product of ours down the road where we actually add a secondary database or a secondary solution to Fishbowl where daily metrics are captured and stored at certain times of the day, like I don't know, like every 5 minutes check the average sale. I don't know, so you can have like a
Right.
little step chart of orders being added to the system and say that because at that point it's almost like a stock market ticker. It's just like right then and
Mm-hmm.
there you're getting a barometer of what's going on because you're calculating every 5 minutes or so. But something like this would
Sure.
just calculate like at midnight, and say like, well, that's what it was. So if we ran the
Cool.
average days to complete today and we got 102 to 2, we'd actually put 102. Actually, no, 17th. Let me run that. 103.2, right?
Nice.
And then you'd go backwards, right? So There is a way to do that. Um, we're probably going to give it a shot on the next live stream and on how to do that sort of thing
Mhm.
with the limited data that we have in Fishbowl. It just takes some ideas of like one of the things that I have is we take today's date, right, 417, and then we generate a list of numbers to say like negative 14 days or negative a year. Then we have the number of days, and then we have maybe like a subquery, right, where we try to calculate the number of how long, if an order was open on that day, how long was it open in order to
Right.
know if we're improving or not. And if we do that kind of correctly in the sample database, I might even go run it against a real customers database and see what that looks like. I just can't do that with
Right.
any customers. Like I'm we have to be very careful. That's why I kind of switch off the screen when I'm trying to take a screenshot, and I might even prepare for that ahead of time to do that because
Mm.
real
Yeah.
data is important. We can't just kind of guess at these
I mean,
things.
the other problem is though that you're right now assuming that everything is the same kind of order, and there could be some orders which are harder to ship or take more time or whatever reason. There could be other reasons why it's not being, delayed, not just,
Oh, sure,
um,
sure.
yeah. So we're looking at this like, oh,
Yeah,
they could have shipped everything and they didn't. Why not? Because they didn't get around to it. Could have been certain things holding up certain kinds of orders. Um, so yeah,
yeah,
I
but
guess.
that's not the purpose of a KPI is just to be truthful to the KPI's reason of being,
Okay.
right? For example, a KPI could be debt to equity, right? We're talking
Okay.
business, right?
Right.
I don't care what kind of debt, I don't care what kind of equity you have. Your debt to equity ratio is X, right? Now, if someone wanted to have a conversation about it, yeah, sure, explain that certain kind of debts are good and certain kind of equities. That's a reason why there's not that much equity in here. Whatever, we have tons of equity and just very little debt, but
Right.
the debt that we have has certain debt covenants that are really tough pill to swallow.
Hmm.
That's the sort of thing with a KPI is never going to understand like the contractual obligations of
Right.
something like that. So if we're looking at like those sort of things, what we might do is maybe the customer or the database has custom fields on the sales order indicating like a channel or indicating
Right.
like a category of customer or a category of activity that makes it way more practical to understand that, oh,
Sure.
okay, yeah, so our B2B customers, let's say, can deal with a longer lead time than our um, consumer customers, which don't want to deal with a long lead time. You know, so if you were, you know, like in a B2C kind of model, and you had a bunch of these web orders that were kind of stuck open for, I don't know, like weeks, then you can totally see, a company wanting to track that kind of metric, right? Show me all the web orders that they're show me what the average waiting time has been. Is it trending up or is it trending down? Are we getting worse or are we getting better? That's
Right.
what really a KPI is supposed to do, and that's where I want to start building out those KPIs and solutions for customers in the data module so that they can have that kind of solution inside of Fishbowl without having to go to outside platforms like Clipfolio or Power BI. Which not saying they're bad
Hmm.
platforms, not saying that at all, but where our plan for ILC is to make a pack of sales and performance or shipping and manufacturing KPI little widgets that people can drop on here and kind of build out what they need. For example, we just did a bunch of sales today, right? So boom, our sales volume has gone up like quite a
Wow.
bit, you know. So that's a little impressive because the thing grows and shrinks, and I'm sure executives are going to be here, refreshing this page for you know hours on end. Pissed off Fishbowl doing it, but you get the idea, right?
Right. Yeah. Well,
Anyway, I think that's it for the live stream. That's all the time I've got
sure.
to kind of dive into it. We'll probably chat again, Josh, doing another
Okay.
another podcast pretty soon. We've
Yeah.
got some things in the works, and later probably next week for some housekeeping for the people that watch the live streams or the podcast. We'll be doing some more developer live streams. Actually, maybe improving our batch order plugin.
Nice.
It looks great now, but we actually want these, buttons and sections. And see that we
Right,
want
right.
we want this to work so that it works a certain way. The custom fields, notice how this. Yeah, that's not working quite
Yeah.
right. There it goes.
Nice.
This is the sort of thing that we want to improve so that we can put this on the store, and we'll kind of explain that journey with everybody on the
You should
live
do
stream.
a live stream of programming the app.
We were. We
How you
actually,
built
we
it.
actually, yes, Josh. I know you probably don't watch the programming stuff that much, but we did have the initial start of the batch order
Oh,
on our one of our
nice.
first programming live streams. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that was a few weeks ago. It's been
Okay.
improved since then. So if anybody's been wondering what happened to batch order, we're still working on it. It's just, of course, it's not a customer commissioned project, so we're not,
For
doing.
non-programmers, it's scary because then you know how far behind you are of everybody who is programming. It's like, oh God, let's make it look easy.
you know, uh, there's a lot of solutions out there that are, when they say no code, they actually mean you're coding. They're just saying you don't have to type to do things.
Right,
They're
right.
just
It's
they're
still
just making
code.
you code via point and click, which is not a bad thing. You know,
Right.
I think a lot of people will learn how to do that. But if you're using Excel and you're using formulas, you are programming.
Hmm.
It's just not
Yeah.
the kind of programming that everyone's used to, where you've got Neo in the
Right.
Matrix. You know. Anyway, I think that's it for today. We're gonna get
Okay.
going with our next appointments today, and
Okay.
thanks to everybody for joining us for a short hour on this live stream. Everybody stay safe, stay
Yep.
healthy, and we'll see you guys all soon.
Okay.
All right,
Take care.
thanks. Bye.
Bye.